This is the 10th generation of the RedMagic Pro. I've been on iPhone for the last few years, but I spent a lot of time in the Android world, especially when every phone, every release was so competitive and revolutionary with better cameras, better performance. Of course, those things are still improving, but we don't have a lot of companies really pushing the limits. And there was a moment in time where like phone-based handheld gaming seemed like a real opportunity. And for me, at least, it kind of died off because the games weren't very good. And then a few years ago, you had Genshin Impact, Diablo Immortal, like some games started to come out that were graphically impressive. And they actually had some system tuning, right? You can change the settings of the game based on the performance capability of the phones. Like, there's some separation that started to occur. Now, I'm not a big phone guy, and from what I can tell, I think RedMagic might be one of the only companies out there that's actually pushing those limits. So for $650, we have the RedMagic 10 Pro. It comes in a number of different configurations: 12 gigs of RAM, 16 or 24, 256 gigs of storage, or 512. And I thought it set up to a terabyte, but I didn't see that when I looked on their store. So for now, asterisk, it might go up to a terabyte. Maybe that's a future release. There are also 4 different colors. This is the white one, but there's shadow and midnight, and there's like a transparent one that a lot of the reviewers got that looks really cool. This is a beast of a phone. What separates this phone from other phones is, well, there are several things. There's the included software from RedMagic that allows for per game performance tweaks. I'll show you that in a moment. But also, there is a fan and a liquid cooling system built into this phone. Like, that's wild. But it shouldn't be wild, because when you think about it, there are handheld gaming PCs like the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally that are not that much, well, the screens are not that much bigger than this one. And of course, they have fans in them. They're big, chunky. You would never want to use one of those as a phone. So, can we get to that point where something like this can be sort of like plugged in or connected to a controller system like a GameSir, and then off you go, or a backbone, right? And then off you go. So let's take a look at this thing around the outside. I'll give you the specs as we go, in more detail, and then I'll show you performance running Diablo Immortal, which is like the game I've been playing the most on this sucker. I also want to call out the brightness on this screen. Like, there's no way I can show you just how bright this thing is, but it's rated for 2000 nits. Now, I don't have the tools to measure that, but I do have the power of observation. And what the powers of observation tell me is that this does get extremely bright. One of my favorite things to do, I know this is going to sound lame, is to drink a cup of coffee and sit outside and read. Read the news, what's going on in the world, read some sports, some stupid stuff that I like to follow. And I try doing it on those e-ink tablets, the ones that power on the books tablets that have Android on them. But unfortunately, I'm super worried about privacy with those devices. And also, its performance isn't very good. And then on the other hand, I take an iPad out there and it gets too hot and it's not as bright. Point being, it actually works. You can take this outside in direct sunlight, and it's bright enough to do your reading if you want to read Google News or something like that. Browse some websites, maybe the Twitter, something like that. It works great for those things. Now, you'll notice I don't have any social media on this. I'm not a social media guy, but who cares about social media in the context of this review, right? You have a 144 hertz, 2000 nit, 6.85 inch display. And for reference, the ROG Ally X, which is a PC gaming handheld, has a 7-inch display. So we're getting there, right, in terms of size. They could very easily have gotten a 7-inch panel, but you have to have a balance. If it's a phone that you're also going to put to your ear and you want to have good battery life, you're going to put it in your pocket, you don't want to be too big. The resolution is 2688 by 1216. And it does have an under-display camera that just barely poked its head. Hang on one second here, I'll show it to you. Boop, there it is. And a 95.3% screen-to-body ratio, which means extremely narrow bezels. Now, the whole build is metal, except for the display, which is glass. A nice metal framing around the outside, that's your fan system. All the way around on the bottom, we have our USB port. And then on the side, this might look complicated at first, but we have the volume rocker, power button, and then this switch is a toggle that activates the RedMagic system where you can actually do some per game customizations and such. It's very cool. Now, the fan is 23,000 RPMs. Like, that is wild. It's this tiny little fan, and it's very cool. In fact, here, check this out. I have it pulled up on my phone so you can see it. That's the fan. That's really cool. All right, 7,050 milliamp hour battery. So you should get excellent battery life. And away we go back to the phone. As I mentioned, very bright. Gaming is excellent on this. You have your fan system. So right now I can just tap this button and watch this. I love that. I'm a simple man. Okay, so we have different power modes right here that are just, available to us very quickly, or we can hit that toggle. And I love that it's a switch rather than a button, right? If you accidentally press this, if it were a button, this would be very annoying, right? Because look, you're in the ecosystem now, right? Or in the application, but you can just, oops, wrong button, sorry. Good time to show you there's, in addition to Face ID or facial recognition, there's also a fingerprint reader. I can just toggle it back off, and off I go. Toggle it back on, and we're rolling. Okay, so I can go to Diablo Immortal and I can launch the game. I can also do some setting tweaks. I can do a screen sharing, screen casting rather. I can go in here, which is called Super Bass. I can pick the game and I can do some further customizations. There are plugins you can get. There's this behavioral learning, which I think has something to do with taking like keyboard and mouse controls and mapping them to the phone, but I didn't get into that quite yet. I will. But anyway, I think this is very cool. Now, when you fire up a game for the first time, it will also prompt you and say, do you want to have the fan automatically turn on? And so for Diablo Immortal, I chose yes. Let's go ahead and fire it up. Okay. So everything from sound to graphics is excellent.
And I killed him.
The speakers sound very good. I don't know about you, but I always skip the story in the Diablo games. I'm a long-time Diablo player since Diablo 1. Man, the story has just gotten so convoluted.
I didn't thank you properly.
All right, buddy. All right. That doesn't look good. That's awesome. We'll skip it for now.
Nothing remains but ash.
Nothing remains but ash. Oh, Kane's alive in this one?
Adventurer, Kane.
I guess if I pay attention to the story, I would know.
We need help holding them back.
All right. Let's kill some bad guys. So the brightness is an automatic one based on a sensor. But if you wanted to, you could jack up the brightness further. It's just going to kill your battery faster is all. All right, bad guys, let's go. As you can see, it's smooth as butter. It sounds great. It's funny, I haven't played a handheld, I shouldn't say it that way, I haven't played a cell phone game in a long time. I've got my iPhone and I just don't game on it. I don't want to kill the battery. I'm constantly dealing with work stuff, and so I don't want to be interrupted with my games. But anyway, this isn't uncomfortable despite being metal. It has a nice rounding to it. It has a built-in screen protector too, so the screen's pretty smooth to touch on. It's really not uncomfortable for long sessions, like more than 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah, I might want to have a controller or something, I think that'd be a good idea. But anyhow, this is the RedMagic 10 Pro. So let me know your thoughts on this one. I'll come back at you with some more feedback after I've had more time with it. But for now, man, for $650, this is pretty awesome. Like, I'm surprised it's that inexpensive with full compatibility with all the major carriers. So yeah, that's awesome. All right. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.